A very good evening to one and all, and a warm welcome to all our lovely brothers and sisters and Dr. Krishnamurthy Jaina. We are very happy to welcome you here in this webinar. And I'm also happy that many educationists, teachers, respected principals have also joined. We welcome you all. This initiative is brought to you by Heartfulness and Brighter Minds. Heartfulness is non-profit organization and it is working at international level, present in more than 160 countries. And this organization is around 75 years old, and this system is available for more than 100 years. And Brighter Minds is its connect, which is working with children, teenagers, adults, and is also available at international level. I am very happy to introduce you to Dr. Krishnamurthy Jaina. Dr. Krishnamurthy Jaina is the advisor of research and programs in Brighter Minds. He has rich experience of more than 2 decades and is a community health specialist. He is a very renowned name at international level. He is on the senior advisory team of Karnataka Health Promotion Trust and also site coordinator for a global health training program that trains PhD and postdoctoral fellows from across 4 countries, India, Canada, Kenya, and Colombia. He is a Dean of Faculty of Life and Allied Health Sciences at Ramaiah University of Applied Sciences, India. Dr. Krishnamurthy Jaina is also the founder and director of Center for Integrative Health and Wellbeing India, which is also called as CIHW. He is a proud author of the book, which is, I'm very happy to show you. This is Science and Practice of Integrative Health and Wellbeing Lifestyle. And we are very happy, very, very proud and happy to welcome Dr. Krishnamurthy Jaina to this forum. Thank you, sir. Thank you for accepting our invitation and joining us.
Thank you, Surabhi and Swaraj. One is for organizing this event and for inviting me also. I know there's a lot of enthusiasm and interest. I keep hearing through you about the teams. Very happy and look forward to my interaction with all the audience today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I'm Surabhi, your host for today's session, and I'm a Heartfulness trainer and also a Brighter Minds trainer. And we have trained more than 1,300 children personally up to now, and also more than 300 adults in this cognitive training program, which is called Brighter Minds. Across the globe, Brighter Minds has trained more than 30,000 children and more than 1,000 adults up to now. And this cognitive training program, as I already shared with you, is available at international level. COVID and last, whatever we have experienced, for last 2 years, we all agree that it has changed our mindset from illness-oriented to wellness-oriented. Like earlier, when we were sick, we used to go to doctors. Now we are more careful about our health. So this book, which I shared with you, is written by Dr. Krishnamurthy Jaina. This is dedicated to all those on the path of lifestyle change as explorers, as advocates, and also as champions. So I invite all of you to just experience this book, go through. And this is a wonderful book, and I really personally read complete book 2 times, and I'm fond of this. Sir, your initiative CIHW has 2 pillars, health and education. Please share your insights on these 2 pillars of CIHW and how they are related, like how health and learning, how health and education is related, sir. Over to you.
That's a good question, Surabhi. Then I have to go back to the whole conceptualization and how this whole vision that evolved over time. I basically, dear friends, a good evening to everyone. I'm in Bangalore and very happy to connect with all of you through online. Basically, I'm a medical doctor, and then I was trained in public health or community health. And I worked with UNICEF, many WHO projects, the University of Manitoba. In the last 1.5 years, I've been associated with MS Ramaiah University. There too, I've studied some courses, masters and doctoral programs in public health. Last 18 years, I worked in the areas of communicable, non-communicable diseases. What I've learned over time, Surabhi, in this whole idea of your question, CISW, while health has got many dimensions, even WHO recognizes that there are many dimensions to health. In addition to physical, which includes biological and physiological, there is psychological dimension to health, the mental and emotional, more deeper spiritual and social dimensions as well. But often if you look at all the advances in the field of health, is all geared up towards curative medicine, if you see. There's so much discovery of, so much investments that go into discovery of drugs, drug trials, vaccines. Of course, they are important because they have really saved lives. At the same time, there's also important to give thrust to prevention and health promotion as well. Somehow, while that is there in the philosophy, but when it comes to ground realities, that doesn't happen as much. If you see, most often we all go to hospital only when we are sick. In hospitals, there are already plenty of people waiting in long lines, and even doctors and nurses don't have enough time other than trying to talk to us, collect history, give treatment, and send them. Where is the time for them to educate us, counsel us? We can't blame them. The systems has become like that. This led me to explore how do we really embark on a journey of a comprehensive health style. When you look into traditional fields such as Ayurveda, for example, whole Ayurveda is built upon prevention and health promotion. There's so much of importance to diets, lifestyle change early enough so that there is we prevent diseases. Likewise, I am also a practitioner of meditation. I'm also one of the trainers in meditation. Having been practicing and training over the last 25 years, I have realized immense benefits from insight at a mental, psychological, and more inner, deeper spiritual level. Yoga is yet another expanded arm of artfulness, which also helps us both at physical, mental, and inner level. That's where this 5-6 years ago, this thought emerged. We have already all these sciences around. How do we bring them together? Modern medicine is great. It has scientific, evidence-based medicine. There's so much of inventions, discoveries. Yes, that's a good starting point. We need to start. At the same time, how do we integrate Ayurveda, yoga, meditation? That is where the integrative health as an area evolved. But as I'm exploring the health, what is really important is the awareness and the education around all these aspects. Where is the time for us to learn? COVID came, and because of which we are a lot more aware today of prevention and promotion and lifestyle. We are talking more about lifestyle today than before COVID, right? That is where the need for education. And education, again, is a very broad term. There's education that we go through in the schools. Then there's education for life itself. Then the education as adults, there is a lifelong learning that happens for all of us. Few years ago, there's interest in learning, exploration, especially through Brighter Minds, some of us on the research team, when we explored what's happening in the field of learning, in the field of neuroscience, especially friends, last 2 decades, the kind of advances we have made in the area of learning and teaching, how the brain, we know more about how brain functions now than ever before. Thanks to all the radio diagnostics, which help us peep into the brains and how brain changes, how brain transforms. So, Rabi, this is how the health and education are so related. When we look at education through CSW, it's not only education for children, but also for adults and for elderly. In a way, lifelong learning is what we want to encourage. Within Brighter Minds, as most of you may be already aware, there's so much focus on helping children provide the right environment so that they can learn free of fear in a spirit of joy, which we will explore more through this webinar. Of course, through Brighter Minds, there are also programs for elderly and adults looking at how, even while we are still strong, fit, and healthy, how can we better care for our brains? How can we better improve our cognitive reserve? And as we age, how can we age gracefully? So these are the interests that led me to explore them in deeper areas. And that's how this whole vision evolved as a part of Center for Integrative Health and Wellbeing. In fact, one of the reasons why I've joined Ramaya University last year, within MS Ramaya, there's so much importance to given to health and education. Again, looking at health from multidisciplinary perspective, modern and traditional. And that's where at this juncture, my focus has been to look at research, look at collaborations, the like-minded people in these fields, bring them together and see how we can collectively advance the knowledge in this space. As we learn more, translate them so that people can really apply it in real life and make best use of them. That's sort of slightly longer response to your brief question of how this health and education appeared in the vision. Surabhi, over to you.
But that's wonderful to know, sir, because we were curious how health and education is related, and you have given wonderful insight, and we all agree that yes, it is true. This beautiful organ which we call brain, actually, it's not only important for learning, but also it molds our personality, sir. Because of whatever we think, whatever we do. And as parents, as adults, if we know what processes go on in our brain when we learn, then maybe we can support our children, our youth, ourselves in a better way. So we are just curious to know how this learning takes place in brain. What are cognitive abilities? What is this word cognition? When I came to Brighter Minds, then this word was very new, and to many of our viewers also, this is very new. So we are just curious to know from you, sir.
Sure, that's a great question, Surabhi, because in the last few decades, if you see what is really happening around the world, the IT revolution that is happening. Prior to that, I was reading a book a few years ago. The book is titled Leap of Perception by an author, Penny Pierce. Very nice observation she makes. She says, since the time of Industrial Revolution, there has been three major phases of development. One is the Industrial Revolution itself, where there's so much of discoveries, inventions around at a physical level, right? The physics, the engine, the bulb, the electromagnetic forces, and all that we see around until last century. Second was the information age of information. One is age of Industrial Revolution, age of information. That's when we saw the advent of computers. And in the last 40, 50 years, computers have picked up speed, picked up memory, processing speed. And so much knowledge we are processing through this information age. And even early enough in this century, the Facebook and the WhatsApp. Now, all of our lives are revolving around this social media, right? So much of knowledge we are exchanging. What she says very interestingly, the next phase, which has already begun, she says it's age of intuition. Because there's so much knowledge today. Even for me to, let us say, I want to decide to buy a car. 30, 40 years ago, it was simple. I just had Fiat or Maruti or Ambassador, hardly enough discussions. I just had planned my budgets and went and bought. Today, if we want to buy a car, we go crazy. We do loads and loads of research. Why a car? Go to a mobile. Again, we go crazy. With so much information around us, thanks to information age. What she says, this information is going to only explode. In the coming years, if we don't train our brain, not only to process knowledge faster, process information faster, but to be able to intuitively process as well. Only then we can survive and we can make decisions faster and we can probably evolve further. So look at this, Industrial Revolution, age of information, age of intuition. And she says we already set in. That era has already begun. In many ways, Brighter Minds also feel its exploration into the science of learning to tap the potential that is already hidden, to really evoke this learning process. You asked about cognition. What is cognition? What makes a human being very distinct from animals or lower animals? It is our brain and the process of cognition. What is cognition? What is process of cognition? It's the way I process information. It's the way I learn, the way I receive information, process information in my brain, register it, recall it at the time of required. At the same time, let us say in our corporate world or even in a family, there's a decision to be made. I can use my rationale. I think, I analyze, right? I sometimes argue. I try to defend. I try to justify. All these processes are summarized as broadly as cognition. So what sets the human being apart from, let us say, lower animals, essentially is the process of cognition. The human brain is so different fundamentally from any other brains. Often it's compared to a reptilian brain or a brain of a crocodile, which is very instinctive, less cognitive. Whereas the human brain is more cognitive, less instinctive. But within our brain, crocodile brain is still there. So instinctive brain is also there. Cognitive brain also is there. But how we nurture the cognitive brain, or what we call gray matter around the instinctive brain, how do we expand it? How do we enrich it? How do we improve connections? Because in the last 2 decades, one of the biggest learning is brain can continue to grow. Brain can continue to be molded. How does it happen? It happens by the connections between the cells of the brain, especially in the gray matter. What makes human being very distinct compared to others is the gray matter. Within that, we have what we call brain cell or neuron. We have close to 1 billion neurons. And every time I learn something new, the neurons are connected together. More learning that I do, more and more neurons connect together. Not only connect, but they connect deeply. A learning happens repetitively, and I reinforce that learning again and again. These connections can become permanent. That is how the connections happen. That's how the learning happens. This phenomena is called neuroplasticity, meaning brain is a plastic organ. The neurons, more and more you can nurture them, the connections can happen, and brain can change in its size and shape. It's a plastic organ. This phenomena is called neuroplasticity, and that is the main principle behind the science of learning. I would like to end this simple answer with what we often use in the field of neuroscience is the neurons that wire together. For example, I'll give a simple example. A lot of you are looking at me for the first time today. Visually, you're processing my image. And those images, let us say, they're all registered in the back portion of the brain. Then you're hearing some interesting, exciting issues, exciting news about brain, information about brain. You're relaying it through your ears, and they fall onto the temporal side or the lateral side of the brain. Meanwhile, some of you may be noting down things. Your hands are working. When hands are actually working, there are some other parts of the brain that are. Now, these different parts of the brain, when they are firing at the same time, they also become connected at the same time. And today's learning can become your memory. And these different connections that happen in the brain become a part of this memory. And depending on how involved you are, if you're involved very emotionally, very passionately, these connections can become even deeper and permanent. So friends, this is how learning happens. And it is a very, very interesting field. And I would certainly recommend you all to read some books. And in fact, we have written a lot of blogs. Our research team is constantly putting up some blogs and publishing. I'm sure Surabhi and Swaraj will be able to share that information with all of you. I will pause here, Surabhi. If there are any further questions or more you want me to expand on this, I'll be happy to go further.
Yeah, sir, actually, all our people have been asking, like when we have started with Brighter Minds, we started with children. And then now program for adults is also available. So they have been asking what is the difference in, children brain and then adult brain, and what is the role of this neuroplasticity? Can adults also learn all those things that children do? And we are so much curious to know about this, and no one would be better than you to give us insight on this.
Certainly, Surabhi. I think this is something when we initially came out with the program for children, and within a year or two, there was a lot of interest among the general public if there can be programs for adults as well. That's when our research team went deeper and explored what's happening around. By the way, I'm a public health specialist. I'm not a neuroscientist. I would like to mention that upfront. But what we do, within our research team, we have a pediatrician, we have people from neurology background. I'm more from research and public health background. And we have neuroscientists, cognitive neuroscientists, we have psychologists. It's a multidisciplinary team that we have. What we do, we looked at what is happening around the world. While we studied children extensively, we started looking at elderly as well. In fact, very interesting piece of evidence, research we came across. Particularly, especially those elders who in their middle-aged or in their youth or adult time period, if they are engaged in some specific activities, like social activity, like activities that challenge their brains, meditation, for example, some activities like chess and Sudoku, things that challenge the brain, or listening to music, or having a very high vision for one's life. Those people, as they aged, research was saying that they were less vulnerable to what we call dementia. Dementia is a neurological disorder that has memory lapses, psychological issues, depression. As one ages, the brain connections start giving away and they succumb to these memory loss and psychological changes, anxieties, depression. But on contrary, these people that I mentioned who engaged in meditation, who had a high vision for life, who were socially active, who had a very different approach and healthy lifestyle, the way they ate, the way they walked, they were less vulnerable. That's what prompted us. Why not bring about a program for elderly as well? Because already evidence was saying even in adults, brains can continue to change, provided we give the right input, provided we give the right stimulation. Often what happens soon after, let us say, in early 20s, 25, chalo, all that I've read is enough. I don't think I can learn anything more. The moment I put a mental block, my learning processes literally stop. The new connections are less and less. When we stop learning new things, when the connections are not happening, new and fresh connections are not happening, what happens? My cognitive reserve is limited. Now, as I get old, I've already stopped learning. I already have a mental block that I can't learn further. Now, with aging, naturally neuronal connections start giving off. We call it pruning. Now, suddenly I experience memory lapses and many other issues that I see. On contrary, in the 30s, in 40s, if we make a conscious effort to bring about a lot of these changes we are talking of, not only we continue to challenge our brain and stimulate the brain connections, if they become very deep, even as I age, they won't give up as easily. And I'm not vulnerable to these changes that will happen otherwise as a result of aging. This phenomenon of neuroplasticity is active even among the adults, but it requires a mental preparedness and some effort on two aspects. One is the physical lifestyle, the foods we eat, the balanced diet, and the kind of am I taking care of my health, my habits, physical activity, and things like that. In addition, the cognitive lifestyle, if I can use that term. Take up some new skill that you want to learn, maybe a new language, maybe a music, maybe something, maybe simple Sudoku or so these are the things that if we can engage, if we can involve them or include them as a part of a lifestyle, certainly we can. That's where this whole program called Restart was designed mainly to help the adults, that you can restart your learning and restart a new lifestyle, and you can increase your cognitive reserve, and you can essentially age gracefully. What do I mean by saying aging gracefully? Lifestyle is great, both physical, cognitive. I'm positive, high self-esteem, joy. And as I age, I'm more and more positive. That is essentially what we can. And there too, there is a lot of neuroscience evidence, and that we have tried to harness, and we came out with that program called Restart. Does it answer your question, Surabhi?
Yes, sir, it answers. And I remember that I was going through this WHO website that you mentioned, and it also talks about cognitive decline. And it also says that, last decade, blood pressure, sugar, all were crucial, but now mental wellness needs to be taken care of, especially during this time, as stress and anxiety and things have become, more concernful. And then that is how they are also telling that, okay, cognitive decline is there. And to address cognitive decline, that line is also mentioned, that if you want to address cognitive decline, multimodal cognitive training will be helpful. So I just got curious to know, and I also am, thinking that my audience will also be very curious to know that is it possible to improve this cognitive process in children, and how can we do it in adults, and what does this multimodal cognitive training do to improve this cognitive process or learning in the brain?
Sure. So traditionally, if you look at the learning methodology, let's say if we go back to our schools, right? What was a typical mode of learning? There was a blackboard teaching, or my teacher came and gave a lecture, or they wrote something on the blackboard. Often I saw only the back or whatever. So essentially my eyes and ears were engaged. That means in the brain, the 2-3 different parts were already engaged. What is multimodal training talks for? Because there are a lot more neuronal processes that are involved while I'm learning. I gave that example. I gave one other example. Let's all of us think of the time when we learned our bicycle riding. Remember the first day when we learned? We lost balance. We fell down again and again, right? But after a few days, slowly, I was able to gain that balance. What happened in these 4 or 5 days? Many parts of the brain were actually working, and they were getting wired. This visual component, the auditory component, the motor component, emotional component. Likewise, the new science of learning says, if you really want to give a good learning experience to the students, why students, even the adults, try to engage as many parts of the brain as possible. And that is where the multimodal training comes through. What happens in Brighter Minds is the whole philosophy or the science of neuroscience, the neuroplasticity, is the backbone. As a offshoot of it, the sensory substitution that is so very, it's so active in the process of learning. And then we also give importance to the learning environment. The students are not only taught or not only engaged, but also there's a right environment where they can feel confident. There's a spirit of joy, spirit of love. Even the program, if you see, I'm sure most of you are already familiar with this, Brighter Minds, because of which you're asking for science of Brighter Minds. There's a music element there. There's motor, there's dance element there. There's visual, auditory. So there's so many different modalities that come together to really make the learning experience as profound as possible, as effective as possible. That is what is actually the whole idea behind the multimodal cognitive training program. Similarly, adults, for example. Now, how many of us are happy just reading a textbook? Even today's students, they're not happy with reading textbook. They go on to Google, they go to Netflix, they go on to, I don't know, where they do an enormous search. They don't they don't want to just read theory. They want to look at animation. They want to look at mechanics of how things happen. So there's so many modes of engagement. And that is when the brain gets maximal exposure, and my learning also becomes maximally effective. And similar process work in adults as well. And that is where our training programs have to adapt to the kind of times we live in, and more importantly, to the kind of learning personalities of the audiences that we have. I pause here. If you want further expansion, we can continue. So feel free to take it as you feel appropriate.
Yeah. So like it's very deeply touched by you, and in the beginning you mentioned that lot of information is available, which all of us agree. Lot of information available, actually overflow of information. Not needed information is also there with us. And as parents, we all are concerned that, okay, my child, especially in online scenarios, a child knows how to open YouTube, when doing schoolwork also opens YouTube, and that information overflow is going in some other direction instead of going in. So as parents, we also like to know that, okay, what all can be done to improve learning and this wisdom actually in our kids, that okay, what needs to be done and how it needs to be done, because you mentioned intuition as well. So if you can just give us this insight, what parents can do to help and support their children to improve learning, how can they make them more intuitive, more observant?
That's a great question, and I think very relevant in today's times, because while logic and reason is important to make decisions, I think it also needs the support of this feeling component, the intuitive component. And that is where, when we see people who actually meditate, and especially as per the artfulness practice, when somebody meditates, the expanded cognition, that is, our reason becomes refined, our thinking capacity becomes very refined, but intuitive processes also are becoming more and more refined. And ably, we are very well balanced between the head and the heart. So my suggestion to the parents is, when they, first of all, often I keep hearing from parents, with COVID, our kids are more and more in front of computers. It is something, I don't know, it's becoming really uncontrollable. How do we manage? First and foremost suggestion to all the parents is not to react. Yes, sometimes kids do get carried away, because naturally that inclination is there to play with the toys, to play with gadgets, and they tend to. But if we also tend to react, it will only worsen but not help them further. Rather, this is where I think there is a great scope for parents to work on themselves first. Hey, there is a challenge. Yes, let's accept that there is a challenge. And reacting won't help anyways. But rather, how can I solve the challenge? So this is the intuitive component, or the reflective component. Ed wants to react. Hey, my child is spending 8 hours. Let me go. Wait, relax, pause, reflect. Yes, there is a challenge, but how can I solve it? This is where the reflection and intuitive process really begin, Surabhi. What happens with meditations is, people tend to pause, tend to reflect. While they think, they also try to connect with the heart. And is there anything more I can do? How can I help my children? Yes, showing anger, showing reaction won't help. Is there a better way of dealing with it? So, Surabhi, I think this is the first step for the parents to work on themselves, to be reflective, to be intuitive themselves first. And then in some mystical way, kids will learn to imbibe and absorb, because when parents react, children will also react. So this is the first step, I would say. For that, parents themselves have many tools today. Heartfulness offers meditation, rejuvenation, prayer, and many other methods to really, over a period of time, quickly we can be feeling reflective, intuitive individuals, and we can better face the challenges, the day-to-day challenges, and better solve. As I speak, I am also not exempt. I also go through the same challenges, but that's where I take recourse in my meditation and try to find solution. This is first I would like to say. Coming to the children, I would say Brighter Minds itself is a great program. where in the matter of 8 weeks, the children are taken through a multimodal cognitive training program, where there are many important abilities that are the need of the hour today, like ability to observe, ability to reflect, think, speak, self-esteem, confidence, intuition. A lot of these qualities open up. Are they coming in new? Not really. They're already there. Every kid naturally has these qualities. But if they're brought to an environment with the right training and the right environment, these skills open up. In a way, you recreate those skills. And that is where children are already exposed. One is when they see the parents doing what they want us kids to do, when kids are taken through these programs themselves. Slowly, what happens? I think the connection between the ed and the intuition, I think both happens. And in neuroscience, how does it play out? This is something of high interest even amongst us, our research team. Because often when it comes to intuition, people have these ideas, is it really science? Is it something not, or a pseudoscience? Or because it's so mystical and so mystical. But I'd like to say that this was first this phenomena of sensory substitution that I mentioned earlier, where was observed among the blind children way back in 1960s by an eminent scientist called Paul Bacchiarita. What is observed? The blind children naturally adapted to the circumstances. For them, some alternative senses, whether audition or touch, they were more accentuated, because that was the compensatory mechanism by the nature to compensate for the lack of or loss of vision. So in nature, already this phenomena exists. So in Brighterments, what is possibly happening when kids are taken through a very calm environment, in an environment where there is a neuroplasticity happening, very calm. The kids also with those specific music entrainment that we adopt as a part of the training. The brain is brought to a natural state of calmness. In neuroscience, we call it alpha state. Alpha is a low frequency state where mind can perform the best. So in this alpha calm state, naturally these potential open. I tend to observe more, because when I'm calm, I can be more observant. I'm more reflective. I'm more intuitive. So these are some of the things that happen as a part of the program. And beyond the program, parents and children have a role to play, because they need to constantly be engaged. It's like any other habit. Through a training program, I learn a new habit. If I stop training, I just lose that habit. But rather, if I daily engage in some practice, if not much, but for some duration of time, these observation abilities, these intuitive abilities, these reflective abilities gradually get strengthened. And over a period of time, those kids will naturally become reflective, intuitive. When we say intuitive, does it mean they stop thinking? No, they do, because we need to start thinking first. But among all the thought process, intuitively I have to pick up one best choice for myself. Let's say when I do a research, if I want to buy a car, I do my research. But there are 3 or 4 cars before me, I'm not able to make a decision. Hey, all the 3 or 4 look great. How do I? Now I close my eyes and connect with my heart. Hey, which is the one that I should go after? The intuition give me a response. So I use my head, the science, I use my heart, the intuition. So dear parents, I think probably this is how this journey happens. While training programs can do something, but ultimately parents, we need to continue to meditate so that we are in a meditative state and we are in a reflective state ourselves, so that we don't react. Kids will go through a Betterments program, but on a small dosage, they should continue to practice, and parents should encourage them, inspire them to practice, so that that alpha state is always remaining. Imagine if parents are in a meditative state, alpha state. Kids through the Betterments program also in alpha state. Naturally, that family is so beautifully connected because they're calm, they're very observant, they're more empathetic to each other, they're more intuitively connected to each other. I've come across many such families. They're so calm, so grounded, they're so peaceful. And Surabhi, my message to the parents and through them to the rest of the society is, we need to create more and more such families, especially today's society. We need more and more households with families who are connected, who are calm, who are grounded. That is where these practices like heartfulness and brighter minds really have a great place today. And these simple practices that we adopt over a period of time can bring about a permanent lifetime change. And our world needs it more than ever now. And especially the COVID has given us that reminder, the wake-up call with all the anxiety, neurosis that we see. It's important to strengthen each of us from within, from inside, so that we are strong on the head, we are strong in the heart as well.
So because we have been training children and also adults in brighter minds, and what I experienced, Dr. Krishna, that children become more empathetic. Their confidence also goes higher. And when their intuition improves and when that enhances, what happens? Their decision-making capability improves, and many of them share with me that, okay, my clarity of thought has become better. Now,
Yes.
if I have n number of thoughts, what to do, what not to do, like that. In teenage, it is more because nowadays in teenage, children think that now they are adults. So they want to go with their, decisions, and they want to be independent. So they say that, okay, now I get that guidance that, okay, now what is right, what is not that right for me to do. Even friends are important in teenage.
Right.
Which person should be my friend, which person would be helping me in growth, and which person should not be my friend because that person will be taking me back. So that decision making also improves with intuition. That is what practically they share with us. So our parents often ask that, how is it possible, like when mind is in alpha theta state and they are sharing that, okay, these things have improved. So they often ask that, is it possible that they go in wrong way as well? Because when they improve their intuition, when they improve their skill, can it be used in wrong way as well? For example, we were hosting one webinar in one of the schools, and then one of the teachers asked that, okay, because they saw that KBC One She's program, and they asked that, ma'am, if intuition improves, and then children can understand what is written in the paper, then why will they study? So they can they use it in wrong way as well? Then practically what I have seen, it is not possible, and I told them some science which I read, but because you are here and no one would be better than you to explain this, we would like to know from you, sir.
That's a very good question and a very valid one, and Surabhi. And see, intuition itself as a phenomena is still not completely explained by science, even as of now. There are some parts to it, but there's many parts even current day scientists are still studying, exploring. How does this work? Because let me talk about the science and research per se. Then I would like to move on to this topic of intuition. So current day science and research relies on something that can be proven in a very tangible way, right? If I perform an experiment, I can repeat the experiment again and again, produce the same result. That is one way of measuring. I'm just repeating the measurements and I'm looking at consistency, verifying it. For that, I use certain methodologies, certain instruments. Now, when it comes to, let us say, something like meditation or something like brighter minds training for children or heartfulness meditation practice, the closest we can measure through science about meditation, also brighter minds program, is the EEG waves. EEG is nothing but electroencephalogram. Like heart has ECG, that where is a graphical record of electrical activity of the heart. Similarly, the graphical activity of the electrical activity of the brain is called EEG. Now, what does EEG show? EEG shows I'm in alpha state or a beta or a theta, delta, gamma. Different states are different, indicate different levels of calmness. Now, it cannot go beyond that. Now, this is just picks up the electrical activity at the brain level. It's still a physical phenomenon, if you see. But something like intuition is far deeper. But scientists are still exploring. While it is very deep, but a lot of brain parts are coming together. So they're trying to still understand it through the sense. So just want everybody to be aware that there is some parts to it which we can call science, but many parts are still not proven and we're still exploring. There is like sensory substitution, will come closer to be able to explain to it. Now, in this process, when let us say intuitive ability, first of all, intuitive ability, we should not look at it as an alien, first of all. Because let's go to the villages. Even there, people who have a very simple lifestyle. If they are very naturally reflective and intuitive. Take, for example, the animal or the birds around us. Do they use GPSs? Do they use anything? They have their innate abilities to follow the laws of nature, right? The cycles of nature. So even human biology is like that. In some way, intuition, being reflective, connecting with other person, being able to connect with the feelings of the other person is actually very natural to us. I'm sure all of you have experienced. Some friend, after a long time you meet, though the friend has not spoken, you get a feel, hey, something may not be all right. And you tend to check. You get that feeling, right? That is it. So all of us are naturally intuitive. So what happens when people meditate or when kids are taken through a Brighter Minds program? Now, when the brain is calmer, when the mind is calmer, these already existing intuitive abilities, they open up more. That is the first thing I would like to put up, Surabhi. Second thing, again, go back to that friend who was able to connect with other friend. When can one connect with other person? Only when that person is free of his or her own thoughts and prejudices or preconditioning thoughts. In a way, heart and head are clear, can we say? So in some way, intuitive process as and when they get refined, I'm less and less conditioned, both in the head, in the heart. Heart is getting purer, I can say. Brains are getting more decongested, we can say. In a way, there's a very positive character formation happening already. Only then this intuitive process, this empathetic, this pure feelings can happen. So these skills open up. And also the wisdom, the character is also opening up. Because the kids who go through the program already grounded. They already are able to decide between right and wrong and choose the right thing at the right juncture in life. So that is where this intuitive process becomes their instrument as additional instrument for observation. Earlier, they used to observe only through eyes, only through the thinking. Now they also observe through the feeling. So I would like to simplify the idea of intuition in that way. So when intuition opens up or when they start using their feelings, when can they start using the feelings? Only when hearts are becoming purer and purer, if I can use that term. So I would like to assure the parents and others through your program. I think when you meditate, when kids go through the programs, when the intuitive abilities are opening up, be assured that the kids are also empowered with the confidence, with the discrimination to use the knowledge for the right thing. And that is where it comes up. And as Surabhi said, over the last few years, I've interacted with few thousands of kids across the world who have additional enhanced observation abilities, intuitive abilities, having gone through the program, and they're doing well. And those of kids who are continuing to practice, and I can really see that they are doing a great job. And currently, we're embarking on a new research project to look at long-term impact of this Brighter Minds program. While we did short-term programs and studies, and we are published in few reputed journals, now, along with our researchers in Canada, US, and India, in Europe as well, we're looking at the long-term impact of Brighter Minds program. I think once the study is complete, we'll be happy to come and present those results then. Over to you, Surabhi.
Thank you, sir. And I also want to share one case which I experienced. And the way you said, this is my direct observation and experience. We trained one kid whose name is Krishna. Maybe Krishna is here in this webinar also. If he's here, he can say hi. And when he came to us, when he joined Brighter Minds, then he told me, ma'am, there are so many thoughts that I should do this. As teen, I should explore this. My friends say that everything, there is a sentence, everything should be tried at least once. He told me that it is told to me, and I am fascinated with that. I said, everything? He said, yeah, I should smoke once at least to know how to do that. All those things were there. And then as he went through this training program and he completed, he told me, ma'am, now I feel that I should experience only right things. And there is a purpose why I have been given this human life. And I will explore that purpose. And a few months later, he called me and said, ma'am, I have collaborated with Rotary Club. And I want to go to a few villages in Mumbai and give them this experience of heartfulness, meditation, and relaxation. For kids, I will be giving heartfulness, relaxation. For adults, for teachers, I will be giving meditation. Would you please guide me on how to do this? What I want to do this. Then I called him. I said, okay, come to the academy. We will talk about it. And then I asked him, how Krishna, like, what made you to decide this, that, okay, I want to do this? He said, ma'am, my thought process is so clear now. I find myself so decisive now that, okay, now this human life has a purpose. I should not waste it in trying everything at least once. What is the fun if I experience smoking? I don't want to do that. But I want to make use of my life in something good. So I want to go to villages and I want to give it to all, children over there. They may be needing it. So I got it. So I would be gifting it to others as well. So that the way you were saying that character formation, that improvement in empathy, I directly experienced it. And, it was so heartening for me to know that, okay, this is complete transformation. And he keeps on, contacting us, and he does so many good things now. In his college also, now he has joined the college and he has published one beautiful article on why this relaxation is important, why cognitive abilities are important to work on, all these things. So I just wanted to share it with you and our people here.
Wonderful. Very, very heartening to know that, Surabhi. This is very, very heartening.
Sir, last, we are just, moving towards our last leg. So because many parents and teachers are here with us, so can you give some practical tips which we can use at home to help our kids in learning better? Because today's webinar is on improved learning. So what help can they give to, what support can they give to their children so that they learn better? Even as adults, we also want to learn more. So what should we do?
Right. No, I think it's a very practical question, and I think it's very important to look at it. One, I always felt, I think it starts with us as parents. We retain the learning spirit. We retain that spirit of being a student, being a learner always. In some way, because I am also a professor, I teach public health in the Ramaya University. But before I take a teach, though I've been doing it for a while, I make sure that I update myself with what is latest, what is new, so I can really teach something. So in some way, I believe, and I've seen many good teachers are the ones who always constantly learn themselves. So parents, that way, the first thing is, before expecting kids or others, we become students, learners ourselves. I think that does wonders. And for that, what does it mean? One is this wealth of neuroscience knowledge that is coming out. And we have written close to 40, 50 blogs already over the last few years. And we have written in very simple language. And our research team has done a fabulous job. I'm very proud to say that. Please take time to read. And we have written blogs on many, many things. Learning, science of learning, neuroplasticity, memory, and cognitive decline, and all those things that we discussed in a nutshell today. I think in some way that knowledge, how it helps us. First of all, it brings more clarity in us. And very importantly, it stops us from being emotional and reactive in nature. See, currently, the problems arise within families, within workplaces, is because emotions prevail, the reactions prevail. So I look at it research differently. A research or having a learner's mindset keeps the emotions away, the reactions away. There is this knowledge. That you talked about teenager that time, Surabhi. If I look at what is happening in the biology of a teenager, suddenly you will empathize with the teenager rather than reacting. By the way, that will be the future product. We will soon come out with a program for teenagers as well, a very specialized program. It's still in its infancy. Some research exploration is happening. In a few months, we will be out there. But just think, if parents understand through research what is happening in the brain of a teenager, what's happening in the body of the teenager, how does the heart function, the hormones, then they realize, my God, I'm just reacting, but I should actually feel empathetic. I should support them. So first and foremost is we appraising ourselves with this knowledge. And that's where I would like to congratulate Surabhi for organizing these webinars at regular intervals so that this knowledge goes to parents and teachers and the society. So we know, this is normal. Hey, I'm not the only parent who is going through. I'm not the only teacher who is struggling with a slow learner. There is a whole lot of science out there. First is that. Second, one is knowing, right? Second is the work, self-work. Unless we try to learn and put it into practice, whatever we expect from others, we put into practice. For example, if we expect our kids to be glued before their books, we can't be glued before the books as long as they, but can we also be for a little period? So putting it into practice. For that, and being non-reactive, as I said earlier, our own meditation practices certainly help. And especially every one of us will face day-to-day challenges. Each of us, every day is different, but it's our meditation, our heart that gives answers as to how we can solve. So in some way, for us, our research knowledge, engaging our head as parents, practice on the heart, keeping our hearts open and active. This is a great start, I should say. And for students, kids, yes, for kids between 10 and 15 years or 7 and 15 years, we have a Brighter Minds program. And that program already has very, very strong, I would say, structured curriculum, a great pedagogy, research-based, and it very naturally puts the kids into a certain rhythm. And our facilitators that we have trained who are there all over the world, everybody gives the same program of same quality. And that is something that somebody can take benefit of. But beyond that, that is where the parent-child connect becomes very important. Well, Brighter Minds curriculum provides a learning ecosystem, a learning environment of enthusiasm and joy. Now, at homes, parents and children sustaining it. It cannot be 24/7. All of us are busy. Father and mother are busy. Children are busy. They have their, but in a given day, can we come together for 15 minutes? In a given week, can we come together for half an hour, which can be family time, connecting time, where we go through this exchange. We all reinforce in each other. By coming together, parents are reminding, wait, I have to be a little more thoughtful. I'm meeting my kids. I'm expecting my kids to become, but let me work on myself, my condition, my state of mind. So when we come together daily for 15, 20 minutes or weekly for half an hour, 1 hour time, I think in the process, what happens? We are coming together not to find faults at all. Faults are there. And we all know trying to correct faults will never give us results. So rather, this half an hour, 1 hour time is positive time. It's time to really inspire each other. Rather than finding faults, what each of us like to work upon oneself. And dear friends, this can work wonders. I've seen it working in corporates. I've seen this working at homes, in families. Rather than finding faults, rather than what I need to do myself. In the process, encouraging, inspiring others, because kids have a natural intelligence. Adults also have natural intelligence, and nobody likes to be told, right? Gone are those days. When we were children, We used to get beating on all over. From 8 to 2, I've received beating everywhere. But I didn't get offended with that. I still remember those teachers who were complained, who did all our physical, but I am still happy. But today's children, forget beating. You can't even raise the voice. They're so sensitive. So now our communication styles, our training styles have to adapt to the current generation. That's why I would call it time to connect. Earmarking 15-20 minutes every day. Could be over breakfast, could be over dinner, but 10-15 minutes after that. Weekends, coming together half an hour, 1 hour. Why I say this is important? Because a lot of times parents are fine spending time with kids, but it's going in Netflix, it's going in Amazon Prime. All of us watch movies together, but we are not connecting. We are all connected with, but rather this should be connecting with each other, where the gadgets also don't come in the way. And in these moments, kids will inspire us to meditate more, to go deeper, to find solutions. We inspire them to practice those brighter minds techniques, a little bit here and there, few minutes here and there. Imagine we work on our meditations. Kids do those brighter minds training. And when kids, after 15 years, when they also can start mindfulness practice, think of such a family. For me, it comes as and I wouldn't call it a dream because I've seen many families, it's actually happening. And that's where I think our artfulness guide, Shri Kamlesh Patel Daji, has been really coming out open, more so during COVID times, coming out there, inspiring people all over the world to embrace this lifestyle of artfulness for adults and for kids, the brighter minds. So, Surabhi, this is how I would like to probably summarize in simple, just to summarize again precisely. One is read the research material that is available for parents. And Surabhi, please share all the blogs that we have written and then apply it in our settings, our own self-work, our meditation, our intuition. I think those three are cardinal. For kids, there is brighter minds training. But beyond the training, how do we sustain that environment, alpha environment? That comes through our own practice and kids, and we connect with each other to inspire each other, to inspire each other to look within and correct themselves rather than I correcting them, them correcting me. Each of us inspire ourselves. Hey, let me correct myself so that they are happy with me. And already intuition, empathy is active. Just coming together in that positive spirit will do the trick. That's where I will probably pause, Surabhi.
Thank you, Dr. Krishna. It was really insightful. And we would like to open forum for questions. If our people have some questions, please feel free to ask. And I would request Dr. Krishna to please take your queries.
Absolutely. I think the session is incomplete without some exchange. Maybe I would even like them to come out of open the video and we can interact for a while. I think we have time till 7, isn't it?
Yes. So you can ask, you can just switch on your video and ask. You can write in the chat box and ask anyhow, whatever way you like, you can just interact with us. Up to you.
Hello.
Hello, Hetal ma'am. Most welcome.
Thank you.
Please ask your question.
As you just mentioned, Krishnamurthy ji, that earlier, like children used to get beating. Now we can't even raise our voices. We can't even raise our voices. So, like, what are your insights for disciplining the children in this environment? One, and like the change that has come, whether it is because the children have changed or the environment and the society change over a period of time, and whether that's right or there should be a combination of both.
Very good question, Ethel ji. I think you already gave answer very indirectly. The changes across what's happening, if you look at an individual level, 40 years ago, most of us had I would say 9 to 4 job or a 10 to 4 job. Life was simple before globalization, before IT boom, right? What used to happen in villages, farmer used to be active between 9 and 4. Even in city life, people used to be active between 9 and 4. Earlier, even Doordarshan came in late in 80s. Before that, even Doordarshan for a long time, we had only one channel. So no Facebook, no internet. We simply had nothing but to connect with each other. It was natural. The connection was so strong. Even the words didn't matter. Words didn't miscommunicate then. Even a beating by a teacher, I knew he is doing it for my correcting me, for disciplining me. Some of the connection was naturally strong. Intuitively, everybody knew each other's intentions. But fast forward 40 years henceforth, where is 9 to 5 lifestyle now? Anybody? Our work goes late into the evenings, late into the nights. And when we are exposed to the gadgets and light continuously, and the kind of impact it has on my brain, on my hormones, constantly I'm checking messages, replying mails, not only adults, even children. So at an individual level, all of us are under tremendous stress. And brains, our body, our organs are taking this stress. Why do you think the mental health issues are growing year after year, year after year? So all of us are under tremendous stress. That is one. Second, the ecosystem has changed. Earlier, because our work lives were very confined, we always had time for walk, talking to each other. We always had a lot of time. There was hardly any TV channel. There was nothing but only after dinner till the time we went to sleep, we only had to sit outside and chat. But now it's not. Though people are communicating less between themselves directly, but more through WhatsApp. Just think of it, even typing a WhatsApp message, if you subtly observe, there's so much stress on the body and the fingers. If you subtly sense, you can feel the radiations here. Imagine if I'm doing it non-stop. In my body, there's already heightened stress. So when mind is already heightened, my ego, everything is heightened, my reactivity is already at a threshold. So slightest trigger can evoke the worst in me. That's why this is the time to really meditate and calm down. And through heartfulness cleaning, remove those negativities that affect, because none of us are free. When we are in the world, it affects us. But at the end of the day, we just clean ourselves and remove the negativity. So I'm trying to really bring back that simple space and time, at least around me. I can't change the world around me, at least within me, around me, within my family. Can we do that? Ethelji, that is the need of the hour today. And that's why now when we deal with our minds and egos, naturally after a while, we see that our ego mind becomes little sublimated. We again come back to that state of simplicity, or that simple state that existed already 40, 50 years ago, naturally. What I've realized, when husband, wife, kids, their elderly parents, when they all are able to come to certain resonance in the family, peace and harmony naturally is a result of it. When the connection is so strong, even the words, if they go a little bit here and there, they don't miscommunicate. And that is where intuition. Intuition helps a person to read between the words and between the lines. That's why it's not enough only to clarify at a verbal level, at an intellectual level. Becoming connected at an intuitive at the level of the heart. Then even few things go here and there, they don't have to really. So that is how I look at it, Ethelji. To summarize, it's a change at many levels. Individual, societal, macro, global level. But we have to start working at least our individual family level. So at least the world around us can be changed. Not the world, the big world, but the world around me and my family, at least can that change. Likewise, within universities, within schools, can we change the world within our schools, within our premises? That's where we have this University Connect programs, School Connect, the Brighter Minds programs, and many such programs. The whole goal of the Heartfulness Institute's movement is the big world will change when the small worlds around individuals start changing. And slowly more and more of us, more and more families, more and more communities change. Eventually the big world has to change. That is the whole premise under which these programs are held, Ethelji.
I think you will also need a specialized program for mid-aged people in 50s, because we are a generation who still fear our parents who are 80, and like different respect and fear, and we are nurturing a generation who is very different.
You said it, you hit the nail on its head, because in some way we are facing the best or worst of both.
Yes.
And the special program is certainly required. In many ways, restart is essentially that. Restart also looks at improving our abilities, cognitive abilities, and at the same time, empowering us from within to take, because we are really the sponge cushion between the two generations. And we need to be carefully nurtured. I completely agree with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So we have Brother Sarala. Brother, you are muted. Can you please unmute yourself? And
Yeah, sorry. I mean, I joined my daughter's name is showing up. So Senthilnathan is my name. So sorry. I mean, yeah. So both my kids, like, we are in Kannada, and both my kids are part of this program, and I myself is part of the Restart program, Dr. G and Surabhi. And it's a great, I would say, a blessing. And as Doctor called out, right, by my childhood dates, I was one of the beaten up children during our school days, right? We are beaten up for asking questions. In a sense, we have been asked not to think and question. So that's a thing happening overall. And after doing all these programs, I can very well see my thinking has very well improved. And I wrote to Daji also, like once I said, like, no, Daji, it is like, I know that in Kannada, you are bringing died trees, like very big trees outside road. Then again, they replant and give a new life. I thanked him. It is also like me, like even though I'm a grown up, it was like the life of thinking has just started for me. And I thanked him, and he told, thanks, brother, for the affectionate letter. This thing, I wanted to thank the entire team, Doctor, and it was a great, it is a great experience. I'm still practicing it. That is one thing. And the question from me is there the emotions, is there any exercises to handle emotions also better? Daji has told, like, no, the left nostril breathing to reduce anxiety and all. Like, we trigger the brain for the thinking process. Do we have anything to work on, exercises to work on the emotions, Doctor? That would be really helpful. Doctor.
Great question, Brother Senthil. First of all, thank you for your compliment. That's very encouraging when we receive such feedback. And the question that you asked is a very practical, pertinent question. Especially today is, just give me a second. Especially in today's, I think if you try to understand what emotions are and why do they happen. I talked about, I don't know if I talked about limbic system earlier. See, we have 3 different types of brain. There's an instinctive brain, which simply works based on instincts. Then there's emotional part of the brain. We call it limbic system, where all the emotional drives which are there. And these emotions are conditioned since childhood. And it all comes back to, because that is where really the conditioning happens. And they are there for a long, long time, Brother Senthil. And over and above that, there is cognition, the gray matter. Now, there are a few things that we can certainly do. From an artfulness perspective, the aspect of cleaning, where that cleansing happens at a subconscious level, I think that is certainly deconditions. And yes, it itself is a lifelong process in many ways. And all of us have our emotional past, and it takes a while for us to go through it. But it happens slowly but surely. And we should appreciate your effort that you're staying in the Kana. And it will certainly happen. It will fast track, no doubt about it. But in addition, I realized there are a few things, because when I see 2 different approaches to self-transformation. People just go through it mechanically. Again, it's a very religious way of self-change. They just go, everything happens in the system. But it happens, but at the same time, we go back and forth, back and forth. Second, I would like to say it's more pragmatic approach, or a researcher's approach. Approach it like a scientist. Daji often uses the word scientist. Approach it like a researcher. What does it mean? Carefully study everything and anything about yourself. That's why your diary becomes important. When you write journal, it's not just writing what happened, but much more than that. In fact, a lot of times I write pages of it beyond what happens in meditation. Oh, in that meeting, why I suddenly became reactive? What prompted? Where did I lose? I would like to subtly observe, because one side, as you meditate, observation is improving. Using that observation, more subtly if you observe, oh wait, this emotional trait has come down, but this is still there. Where is it getting provoked? Okay, it wasn't there, but in this environment, it suddenly cropped up. Who cropped up? Why that person cropped up? Next time when I meet that person, how can I be better prepared? Because not that person, it is in me. In me, something is getting triggered. I rather thank that person, that circumstance that opened. So if I be prepared, so in one way, the journaling, having a researcher's mindset, keep writing extensively, especially about, and then consciously applying it. Meditation clinic is doing its job, but beyond that, I have to act. That is where this researcher's approach, I think, certainly helps. To support them, yes, all those exercises, those yoga, breathing, and even the restart, a lot of physical activity. What I've also realized, if we engage in physical activity to the extent that body tires a little bit, body feels fit and strong, it directly has an impact on the emotions and the moods also. That's why those restart, that package has been suggested in a very holistic way. Physical activity. And also, brothers, a lot of times our emotions, in Ayurveda, there is this thought. Emotions are influenced by the foods we eat and how we eat. So now when we start observation, starts expanding, we start trying to bring an all-round change around us. And slowly it will start paying dividends. That's where great teachers like Daji are a great model, because they have really done it so intensely, so meticulously. And they're the living role models for us. Now we walk that path and be also able to apply that. And then slowly we experience change. So that's how I would probably respond. While there are exercises, but beyond that, my engagement with myself, journaling, acutely studying, planning, it's a very individual, personal work, Brother Senthil.
Yes. Thanks a lot, brother.
Brother, if you want some practical inputs, then maybe we can connect with you and give you some practical inputs for kids, and we can work together so that you can work on this observation enhancement.
Yeah, sure, sister. Sure. Sure. Thanks. Thank you.
Shared this link for blogs. You can go through.
Sarvi, we can't hear you. You're on mute or something. Did you say something?
Yeah. So is it audible now?
Now I can hear you. Yes.
So in the chat box, we have shared link for blogs. If you are finding blogs and you are not getting it, it's there on Brighter Minds website only. And if you want to experience heartfulness, then also you can connect with us. Like I'm seeing few people are very new. You have joined for the first time perhaps, so you are most welcome. This website is heartfulness.org that you can go through. And for meditation training, which we offer without any charges, and that is for life, you can connect with us if you want to experience heartfulness meditation. One last question we can have if you want to ask any.
I'll just give the link of the CHW website and about the book that you mentioned earlier.
Wonderful, wonderful. So yes, so I will mention it again. So this book, which if you can see me, 1 minute. Yeah, so this book, which I have shared with you, is a wonderful book. And link for this book is given in the chat box. You can just go through. And also for any query on Brighter Minds, Heartfulness, please feel free to connect with us. Yes, Dr. Madhuri.
I see a question from Sister Sadhana Sarvepalli. How can I enroll my kid in this program? When she applied online, will she get a response? Maybe Swaraj can get back to her with some support.
So sister, Brighter Minds is working online, and for last 2 years, we have been working online, and results are wonderful. We are getting very encouraging feedback. So we will be able to train your kid online. We will connect back with you. You can share your number in the chat box and maybe we will connect with you. I'm seeing Sister Kishori Rathi is raising hand. Sister, do you want to ask something?
Yeah, I want to ask something. Sometime right now, just because of the corona, the children have got diverted into too many things. So whenever I'm with my younger one, I always think ki what she's doing. Instead, I always plan out ki what all the activities I have to do. But sometimes, even when I'm sleeping in the afternoon, it's in my mind ki what she's doing. Is she's getting it again into the gaming? Like there are games like Roblox and there is something known as some mind game or something. So in between, she was playing all these games, and I got connected with her, and I tried to know why she's getting addicted to it. Then after talking to her, I could know that game itself is more addictive, and it is not easy for a child to get out of it. In spite the child thinks, I want to get out of it, but it's not easy for them to take it from their mind. So sometimes I'm not able to focus on one thing just because of all these things. So what do you say about me on it? How do I focus on it? How do I can know that I
Thank you, Sister Kishore. I think I understand. It's a very valid concern. It can be very stressful at times. I can give certainly some response, but you may then, when it comes to specific circumstance, you may need to have a more in-depth exchange with Surabhi, or maybe later I can also guide in many ways. Broadly, I think since you recognize that your kid is addicted to the game, if you understand a little bit of what's going on in the brain itself, why kids get addicted to gadgets, to games, because it same happens with adults also. If you see adults who are addicted to alcohol or smoking, or let us say watching certain TV serials, any addiction has got similar phenomena in the brain, because there are certain hormones that are released, some chemicals that are released that give a certain level of excitation, what we call kick, as we say. Now, when more exposure happens, they need more and more chemicals for reaching that threshold. So over a period of time, what happens? They've reached a very high threshold. Now, earlier playing half an hour game was exciting enough, fulfilling enough. Now, after 2-3 years, 8-10 hours is not enough. I'm just taking an extreme example. So what does it mean? It's not the object per se. It is what is happening here. So as parents, what we can do and what I think we should do, the fact that you have recognized it as an important concern. Now you and other family members, your husband, whoever is there, I think really have to work as a team. It cannot be handled by one person. Because even you need support, because I can see that you are also already concerned. When you are itself feeling very helpless, concerned, we may not be able to help others. It's natural. It can happen to a father also or mother also. Depends on the circumstance. Sometimes mothers are strong, sometimes fathers are strong. That's why they have to really come together and recognize, wait, this is an issue we have to collectively address. But before getting into addressing, let's first read about it. Let's first understand what's happening. And dear Sister Kishori, we have written blogs around that also. And more you uncover this, suddenly you understand, my God, without knowing, I was just judging my kid. There's something more than that. But we can help her. So one is knowing about the issue. First of all, being a team so that you both are more stronger and together you can easily solve. It may take some time, but it will happen. And together, one is thinking, solving, and also bring in the life of the kid something that is more exciting and more interesting and also very healthy. I always give this. We should give, because a lot of kids are, let me talk about my own 2 sons who are in their team. They all were very sportive and very active. suddenly in COVID, what happened? They can't go out. So on the terrace, I put some nets. Every day, half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the evening, I used to go and play with them. I used to play half an hour, but they used to play for 2-3 hours. That itself took away 3-4 hours of gadgetry. Second, getting them introduced into music early enough, some Hindustani, classical. They both took liking into it. Now that became another time pass. So if you can add in the lives of the kids some activities which are very interesting and also very healthy, that is where they can. And in many ways, a program such as Brighter Minds, which also looks at rewiring and bringing kids to a calm state, very empathetic, very intuitive. The kids are in a very balanced state. In that state, they can think better, they can decide better. And that way, you don't have the trouble of telling them what to do, because telling them what to do is the worst thing that we can do. It's very tough. We know it doesn't work, but we still end up doing it because we ourselves sometimes are so very concerned. So these are few things. Just to summarize, becoming a team within the family and trying to know more about the issue and see what are the best practices, how can it be solved. Talk to people like Surabhi and Swaraj who can counsel in this regard and give you some practical tips how to deal with those situations. And such programs such as this, which will really take kids to a different state of mind altogether, where these habits naturally drop off. And after that, we continue to work as a team, as I said earlier, parents with artfulness practice, kids, and over a period of time as a family together, you can certainly get over it, Sister Kishore.
Okay. Thank you so much. No, nowadays what happened is everything is online. And even if I put into the music, half of the time they are into the music and half of the time they are into gaming. So it is very difficult to watch them 24/7. It's not that easy. And whenever they go down for playing, still the others talk. So again, they get into it because their friend talk about it.
How old are your kids, Sister Kishore?
One is 15. She's in 10th standard. She's not into all these things. But the one is 10-year-old, and she's in 5th standard.
What you could do, this is something I always do regularly. You, even though small kid, invite her for a dialogue. Talk to her as an adult. Talk to her as a friend. Hey, you know, beta, don't even call her by beta, call her by name. Treat her like an adult with respect, with confidence, with esteem. And with this, sometimes I'm really concerned about this. You share your concern. Let her not only see what you think outside, but let her see your inner feelings also.
No, it's no, I did all that. And because of that, she could share with me.
Good.
Then once I told her, I think now I have to give up because your friend and YouTuber win and your mama lose. Because you know that she's been trying so hard and we both have been speaking about it.
Then what you could do, I get it. I think that's where I felt, while this is a generalized information, I would like you to connect with Surabhi, because let Surabhi get a lot more understanding of the context, and the more one-to-one education can happen to you, because that is very critical, because your circumstance could be very different and it could be a lot more deeper, and maybe connect with Surabhi sometime one-on-one, go through a more detailed discussion that they can be worked out. It's just a matter of time, and you and your husband coming together as a team certainly goes a long way.
Let us work on it as a team.
Yeah, that has been lagging and we have to come together. Yeah. Okay,
all
thank
the
you
best.
so much. Thank you. Namaste.
Sir, though we have reached 7:02, but one person has sent one quick question. She is asking, she is Hetal's sister again. She is asking, my mother has severe dementia. Does that make me more vulnerable? Is that hereditary?
No, Hetalji, I think clearly evidence shows, especially last few decades of evidence, your brain is amenable for change. You just approach it confidently and take the training that is available. and continue to work on yourself, and it can be taken care of. This is the right time to, as you said, in 40s, 50s is the right time to start looking at it and addressing it.
Thank you so much. A big relief.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Krishna. And for information of everyone, Swaraj has shared Amazon link and also Flipkart link to just help you. If you want to directly go to the link and just search this book, you will get on Amazon and also Flipkart. And as we all are here to make our lifestyle, make our mindset from illness-oriented. And with this, I thank Dr. Krishna for joining us. And sir, we will need more guidance from you on different topics. And we request your coming again to this platform. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Surabhi, for inviting me. It was such a nice exchange. I also thoroughly enjoyed. Every time we interact, we learn something more. And that's what I will carry. We'll be very happy. I think looking at the interest levels, we can certainly connect once in a while and exchange more. And once again, you and Swaraj, keep up the good work you're doing. All the very best. And once again, all the best to all the families out here. And take care, and look forward to connecting with you some other time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So Senthilan ji is saying, have ordered the book. Thanks, doctor, for sharing the riches with. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. I will be very happy to hear the feedback, because always I've been writing research articles for a scientific community. First time I thought I should write in a simple language for a public, but I've got reviews, both mixed reviews. Some chapters are a little more scientific, but many are simple. But I look forward to your feedback and review, because based on that, we can continue to work. My own self-improvement also continues.
Sure, doctor. Sure, doctor. Yeah.
Thank you, Senthil. And all the very best, everyone. Take care. Namaste.
Thank you.
Everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Krishna, for